Welcome to our latest webinar on your visa steps and enrolling in your university. Now, the information that I'm sharing will be relevant to all students, whether you are admitted to PACE University Pathways, PACE University directly, or any of our university partners. So if you do have any specific questions, you can ask those at the end. So my name is Vivienne Beshay, and I'm the Assistant Director of Pathways at PACE University. I'm based in New York City and happy to help you with any of your questions that you might have. I'll share my information at the end, but I will be the only person on this webinar. We're hoping to cover the following items, and as you can see, we will cover quite a lot of material. So please do feel free to ask any questions that you might have. But it might be covered as we go along. Now, first and foremost, congratulations. You might be at the stage where you're currently holding your I-20 or you're waiting on an I-20. Even if you're waiting on your decision, it's a good idea to start thinking about these subjects and what a US visa means exactly. So you will be joining 975,000 international students who are currently in the US. The US accepts thousands of students every year for study purposes. And that could be bachelor's, it could be master's, even PhD programs. And studying in the US really broadens your scope of understanding of the world around you. So we're very excited to have you join our institution. Of course, there is also so much that the institution can learn from you as an international student. So that exchange of global ideas happens every year in the US. Now, when you are beginning your studies in the US, you'll start to hear a lot about the F1 visa. Now, this is the class of visa that you're applying for and that you are required to hold in order to enter into the US. Now, it's a non-immigrant visa, which means you won't be spending the remainder of your life in the US. You're simply moving to the US for a short period of time to complete your studies, and then you're returning to your home country. When you receive your I-20 document, it means that you've been enrolled in the Student Exchange Visitor Program. It means your details have been logged as someone who intends to study in the US and only to study. In the terms of exchange, it means that you might be coming over to exchange knowledge, exchange ideas. And so that's where that comes from. Now, it's really important that when you receive your I-20 that you read through everything to make sure that information is accurate. You'll see a few items which I've listed here. Your CVIS number, which is now your unique code. Your school's CVIS number, so whether you've been admitted to PACE or another institution, your school will have a specific CVIS number. And what the CVIS number means is that the Department of Homeland Security recognizes your university as a university that can accept international students. So this is a very important number. And then also on your I-20 are your study plans. Are you going to be a pathway student? Are you studying a master's, a bachelor's? Is it just a short-term study program? That will all be mentioned in your I-20. And then if you have a spouse or a partner, you will also receive an F2. Now, once you've received your I-20, you will begin the process of applying for your visa. And this begins by filling out a couple of forms, the first one of which is your DS-160. You can find a full step-by-step manual at the link, which I will send out to you. However, it will look similar to this. You'll fill out the DS-160, fill out all the information as honestly and as clearly as possible. It's ideal not to conceal information from any part of your visa process. There doesn't need to be an additional, sharing of information, but you definitely need to make sure that you're filling everything out as honestly as possible. Once you've completed it, there'll be a barcode at the end of the application which you'll need to fill out, and that's what you need to book your appointment and also take with you to your appointment. The second thing you'll need to do is to pay your CVIS fee, which is $200, but will be increasing on June 24th to $350, which is quite a hefty hike. So if you're able to complete your visa documents and your I-20 documents before June 24th, then you'll be paying the reduced fee. Now, you can pay this fee at fmjfee.com, and you'll need to print out the receipt in order to confirm that you've paid it and take it with you to your visa appointment. Now comes to the most time-consuming part, which is preparing for your visa interview. This is essential preparation because it will affect your mood and your attitude when you go for your visa appointment. If you're not sure what you're studying and why you're going to the US and what exactly it is you're going to be doing when you get there, then that will certainly be reflected in your visa interview. The visa officer may only ask you one or two questions, and that might be enough for them to realize that, oh, they actually don't know why they're going to PACE or any other institution. And that could be a reason not to grant you your visa. So how do you prepare for these questions? The most important thing to do is to take a really good look into your curriculum. Do you know what your electives are? Do you know what your specialization or your concentration will be? Do you have an idea of what alumni have done once they've graduated? These are all very relevant questions. It may be that you studied, a hint of cybersecurity at the undergraduate level and you're delving deeper into it at the graduate level. That's a good answer. It may be that you are curious about healthcare administration and that's why you're doing your master's in public administration. Once again, that's a detailed answer that links in a very personal reason to study at an institution. If you simply want to say, oh, I hear the US is excellent with textbooks, that's not sufficient. It needs to be very detailed and it needs to be relevant to you. A good idea is to start checking out websites that are linked to the university, whether it's career services, alumni pages, any magazines you can get a hold of that the university has published will give you the most relevant information and will allow you to link that information back to your own history and your own preference or your own experience. Now, what documents do you take with you? We recommend that you take your application documents as well as any test scores. There might not be a time for you to even share these documents, but if you're asked about them, then you'll need to have them ready. Of course, you'll need to take your financial documents, which will need to be up to date, and you'll need to show that you can fund your education beyond your first year. Keeping that relevant information with you will be helpful in case you're asked about it. If you aren't asked about the information, then there's no need to proffer it first, but make sure that you do have it with you. Of course, you're also going to take your DS-160 barcode and your I-901 CVSV receipt. Take with you any valid passports and any old passports too, in case the visa officer asks about it. Make sure that you have these documents organized. Make sure they're not just haphazardly thrown into an envelope, so that if you do need to refer to them, you're ready with those questions. The other thing I do recommend that you do is to be ready to give an answer for questions such as, what is your English score and how come you were admitted? So make sure that you're very familiar with the admissions requirements of the university that you have chosen to request a visa for. So that way, if the visa officer is unfamiliar with any of the admissions requirements, you can quickly answer and say, well, the requirement is a 3.0 and my GPA is a 3.2. I'm just giving you an example. Now, on the day of your visa interview, it's also important to prepare. Get a good night's rest and make sure you're relaxed. Have a good breakfast and then arrive in good time. Don't arrive hours before, just arrive with a good gap. Dress smartly. You don't need to be in a full suit, but you do need to show that you're formally dressed. Be sure to remain calm. It might be helpful to practice some answers the night before or maybe a few weeks before, to just write down the answers and then speak them out loud, whether to a friend or to the mirror, just so that you're not too nervous. And once again, only offer the documents and answers once you've been asked. If the visa officer doesn't ask you anything, then don't throw the information at them. Just wait until they've asked you these questions. And it's really important that you're confident and honest. And the way that you become confident and honest is to prepare as much as possible beforehand. If you know exactly what you're going to study and you know why you're studying it, it will show in your answers and it will show in your mannerisms. So be sure that you prepare as much as you can, so that when you're asked, you know exactly why you're studying and what you plan to do when you get to the US. Now, these are some of the questions that we've seen students receive in the past. So let's run through them. And of course, if you have any additional questions to ask, we can also answer those together. As we mentioned before, why you've chosen this program is really important. And not just why this program specifically, but you might be asked why this program and not another one similar to it. So be sure to know the difference between your program and maybe another program that is also offered at the institution. Did you apply to any other universities? Now, this is a very common question and it's nothing to be shy about. If you've applied to 5 or 6 other universities, that's common. And you can say, I did apply to others, but I found that this was the best program for what I want to do when I graduate, or I found that it was the best program because they went into this concentration which wasn't available elsewhere. How many backlogs and what are your exam scores? Now, once again, this comes down to familiarization with the admission requirements of the university. You might be asked what your overall GPA is, and you can answer by saying my GPA is, X, Y, Z %, but I was able to meet the admissions requirement of the university that I'm going to. Of course, funding will definitely be a question that comes up, so be prepared with those bank statements. And then finally, what will you do once you graduate? Now, the emphasis here is what you're going to apply your knowledge to, rather than specifically where you're going to go and how you're going to apply it, and so on. I would recommend that you lean away from talking about your employment after graduation and rather refer to maybe a position in an organization. I've seen that certain companies are looking for data analysts who also combine marketing information. And that's what I'm hoping to do when I graduate. So emphasize your role and what you want to do with that knowledge rather than where you want to do it and in which country. Now, there are a few results that might come out of your visa interview. The first, of course, is that your visa is granted, which is wonderful, and it means for another congratulations. The second option, or one of a few options, is administrative processing, which is 221G. Now, in this case, what might happen is the visa officer might need additional information, whether it be funding, admissions requirements, or it could be that an additional review of your CVIS record is needed. Now, this is common, so don't let that worry you too much. If that is something that's needed, you can come back to the university and say, maybe my name on the CVIS record isn't accurate, the start date might be in question. In that case, the university would be the ones to adjust your CVIS record. So that would be the responsibility of PACE or any other university. And then finally, additional proof of eligibility, that would be your responsibility to handle. Now, another result could be visa denial or 214B, and this could be due to a range of reasons. There might be a situation that the visa officer is aware of that the university is not. Now, in that case, there isn't much that we can do. Usually the only proof that the university can provide is a decision letter, maybe a scholarship letter or a letter of support or understanding of the program. But if it's something outside of the university's control, then there isn't much that we can do directly to contact the visa officer. So in that case, you do have a few options. You can appeal, or you can provide the additional information that the officer has asked for. Now, happy to take any questions that you might have. So I'll just begin by looking at the Q&A. So the first question we have is, why Pace University? Why New York? Yes. So, of course, this will all come down to the questions and the reasons that you've applied to the university. Location is a big part of it, yes. But I would emphasize on the course curriculum and exactly what you're hoping to gain and benefit from what you're going to study. This is a large investment of time and money and resources. So if you've come all this way to take in this knowledge, what exactly is it about the knowledge that excites you, that entices you, or that tempts you to make the journey to New York? And someone else has asked, what is the fees? I see it's $4,950 for 9 months. Is it for 18 credits? That's a good question. Now, the fees depend on how many credits you'll be studying for. So at Pace University, we charge per credit. So each credit is approximately $1,200. So it depends on how long your program is. If it's 30 credits, for example, it will be close to $36,000. Hector, you've asked, how can I get the I-20? Can the university help with us with it? How long does the process take? Yes, so the I-20 comes from the university that you've been admitted to. And the only way to get the I-20 is to be admitted to the university first, and then to submit your financial documents. So usually the financial documents are two parts. The first part is completing the financial affidavit, and the second part is submitting a bank statement. Once you've sent those two to the university, the process should take around 2 weeks or less, if we're able to get that to you sooner. Now, someone else has asked, if number of backlogs are more, then what should be the answer to the visa officer in that case? That's a very good question. Now, if you have a GPA or backlogs or an overall grade that might look a bit lower, then you have to keep in mind that regardless of what GPA that may be, you have still been admitted to the university. So that is your response, that I have been assessed by the university and my GPA was still found to meet the requirements that they've set. So that's your answer, that I was able to meet the admission requirements, and it might be in that case that you would offer the decision letter as proof of your admission. So someone else has asked, I've received a scholarship of $6,000. Will that increase if my academics are good after my master's? That's a very good question. Your scholarship may increase if you are working online, or if if you're working on campus, or you've had an opportunity to speak to one of the admissions personnel about an increase. But usually 6,000 is the most that we offer at the point of admission. Kaiz, you've answered, PACE doesn't require GRE scores, so then what if my visa officer asks me why? Excellent question. So since we don't require GRE scores for all our programs, what you would stress on is your academic background. And one of the reasons that we don't require GRE scores is if you've come from the right bachelor's degree and the right bachelor's program, then we find that sufficient experience to begin your master's straight away. Once again, you've been admitted to PACE and to the university that you're looking at. So that means that you've met those requirements. An I-20 would not have been issued if you hadn't met the admission requirements. Bhavik, you've asked, do we need to carry all old passports or next to recent? If you're able to take your previous passports with you, I'd recommend taking them with you. It's better to be safe than sorry in these situations. Garima, you've asked, what is an I-901? The I-901 is the receipt that you receive once you pay your CVIS fee. So it might just be called a CVIS fee receipt in your discussions. Okay. Let's just see if there are any other questions. Someone has asked, do we get internships? Yes, you do have the opportunity to get internships once you're on campus and you've completed a few semesters of your studies. And that is something that we'll help you with at the university. So be sure to stop by career services in order for them to help you out with that. And Hector, you've asked, in my case, I'm waiting for an English test. I'll take it in June 22nd. I'd like to be able to. Excellent question. So if you're still considering applying, we can still accept your application. I would recommend that you complete all the other documents that need to be completed. Your personal statement, your academic records, your letters of recommendation, so that when you get to the 22nd of June, you will be all set, and the only thing remaining will be your English test. If you have any questions about completing the rest of your application documents, please do send us an email in response to the email that you'll receive this afternoon, and then that way you'll have that support, and you'll have a higher chance of being admitted quickly for the fall. Any two professors for MS and CS? If you can find professors that might be teaching some of your classes or are teaching the field of concentration that you're looking into, then that would be great. If not, then I would lean away from faculty and emphasize the curriculum that you'll be answering. Okay, so we have a unique question here. My parents and I appeared for a visitor visa, but we were unsuccessful. Will this cause any issues for the visa interview? Okay, it shouldn't have a great impact on your visa appointment, because this is going to be still a non-immigrant visa. And the questions will be different. And of course, it will just be you who's going, not your parents who are studying the masters. So be sure to be honest about that information, but also be confident in the fact that this won't be directly relevant to your visa now. Someone has asked, do we have Indian students there? Yes, we do have quite a few Indian students. I'm not sure of the number offhand, but I can tell you that Pace University's student body is 13,000 students. 10,000 of them are on the New York City campus. And of those students, 2,000 of them are international students. So we're at 20% international students right now. If my newer IELTS score is more than the previous one, which is reported in the PACE application, then which score should I show to the visa officer if asked? That's a good question. I would actually take both IELTS scores with you to the visa interview. It doesn't hurt to take them both. I would show the most recent, and if you could also report those scores to PACE, then we could have your record updated too. Okay, I believe that answers all the questions that we've had today. If you do think of any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. But it's been a pleasure meeting and talking with you all, and we look forward to seeing you on campus. Have a good day. Bye-bye.